Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, good morning, Las Vegas. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro on a Monday, a coronavirus Monday, and it's getting a little ridiculous now. I mean, we've been dealing with this for almost a month now, and people are going crazy. We'll get to that, but we do have a lot to get to, a lot to go over. One of the most decorated Olympians of all time in this country, Shannon Miller, will be joining us coming up in hour number 3. A lot to get to with her. She's going to be a great guest. Michael Avenatti is going to be released from prison. We'll talk about that story, as well as Tara Reid, not the actress, not the horrible actress I'm talking about. We're talking about Tara Reid, the woman who is claiming that Joe Biden sexually assaulted her. Well, now all of a sudden she's filing a police report 30-plus years later. We'll talk about that. And is Dr. Fauci going to be fired? I'll give you an over-under on when I think that's going to happen. Coming up in hour number 2. We got Chris Wynn here, of course. It's Monday. And
what's the word?
What's
going on, Brian?
Well, not a lot, but we appreciate Chris being here. And I got to start the show. I got to tell you, man, I'm pretty pissed off. I'll tell you what, I'm not in a good mood for a lot of different reasons. Well, for starters, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that I went to college with back east, and he called me yesterday, and he told me that his mother had passed away from the coronavirus. Very nice lady. I met her a couple times. Really nice woman, 65 years old. Didn't have any underlying health conditions. Maybe about 15, 20 pounds overweight, but nothing, nothing crazy. I wouldn't say she was extremely overweight. And, when I hear this and when I'm having this conversation with my friend, obviously I could hear the pain in his voice. Then it was heartbreaking. It was horrible. It was heartbreaking, and I was trying to, be a good friend and talk to him, and I didn't even really know what to say. But as the conversation became more and more emotional, I got very angry at a lot of different things. Angry at the Chinese government, angry at those that are responsible for spreading this virus and putting it underneath the rug, angry at the Trump administration, angry at the handling across the board of this pandemic in this country, not being prepared. And, of course, yesterday was Easter, and I hope that everybody had a great Easter. I really do. But when you look at pastors in Florida, Louisiana, pastors in Kentucky, they have decided to not abide by the rules and the laws and the regulations that have been put in place. This is not about religion, folks. This is not about who you pray to. I don't care if you pray to the tooth fairy. What this is about, it's about defying and not listening to the orders. And guess what? I'm saying if you're one of those idiots, yes, I think you're an idiot. If you went in a church yesterday with more than 10 people and defied the orders of the governors in your state, you are putting everybody in harm's way, and you're putting everybody at risk as far as I'm concerned. I call it involuntary manslaughter. And the best way I could describe it is like if you get into a car drunk. Because when you get into a car drunk, you're playing Russian roulette with society. Now, your intention might not be to hurt, harm, or kill innocent people. But when you get into a car drunk, there is a good chance that could happen. There is a chance that you could kill innocent people because of your reckless behavior. If you were one of those morons that decided to go into a church yesterday, defying the orders and the laws, and going into a church with a bunch of people, to me, that is reckless behavior, because all it takes is one person, and I say it again, one person to have the virus, and then it'll spread. And to me, it's just like, it's just like drunk driving. In my personal opinion, there is no difference. It happened in Florida. It happened in Louisiana. It happened in Kentucky. And it's disgusting. And, I post this on social media. I post it on social media, and then I have people that are saying to me, basically, well, it's the Constitution. We have the right. No, you don't. When the governor of your state tells you you can't do something, and it is a law to protect people, it is not your right to go into a church and pray and put other people in harm's way. No, it's not. How dumb are you? How stupid of a human being are you where you think it's okay to do that? And what's your reasoning? To pray? That's your reasoning of putting people in harm's way? Let's just say there is a God out there. Do you think if the person that you're praying to would be okay with you putting others in harm's way? Why don't you think? and these idiots across the country. I'm so freaking tired of it. It gets me so angry. It gets me so angry. And, it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there at all. I mean, to me, it just gets worse and worse. And I want to read you something because I think this is really important. And I'm not in no way, shape, or form am I saying that all pastors across the country are bad people. No way, shape, or form. I think the pastors who held these in Florida, Louisiana, and Kentucky are horrible people. But I want to read off to you some of the richest pastors in America. And there's a reason why I'm going to do this. Start with Kenneth Copeland. He's worth $760 million. Pat Robertson is worth $100 million. Benny Hinn is worth $60 million. Joel Osteen, the fraud, is worth $40 million. This is the same guy who didn't open up his church during the hurricane. Do you remember this idiot? Creflo Dollar, $27 million. Rick Warren is worth $25 million. Franklin Graham, $25 million. T.D. Jakes, $18 million. Joyce Meyer, $8 million. That totals over $1 billion. And guess how much they've donated to the COVID assistance? Guess. Zero. Because they are all frauds. That's why they are all frauds. And so are these pastors in Florida and Louisiana and Kentucky, and I'm sick of it because listen, people are stupid, right? You got a lot of dumb people across the country, but I don't mind that. Only when it affects me. And this could affect me, and it could affect you because these Nimrods are going into these churches yesterday, putting themselves and others at risk. And it's not just about them. It could be spread to the community. And I don't know how my friend's mother contracted the virus. She didn't go to church. My understanding is she went to the supermarket a few times. I mean, you can get it from going to the supermarket. That's the truth. But when I hear about these wonderful people, these innocent people that are dying, and then how I hear the stupidity of those yesterday that were praying in churches in large gatherings, I get very, very angry. Make no mistake about it. It's involuntary manslaughter as far as I'm concerned. And I want to hear your thoughts. I want to get Chris's thoughts on that, JD's thoughts, and I will open up the phone lines. Am I wrong on this one? Do you think I shouldn't be angry when these idiots across the country are gathering in large groups in churches to pray, and they think it's their constitutional right, and they have the right to do it, and they want to put everybody in harm's way? It's selfish, and it's disgusting, and it's pure stupidity, and I'm tired of it. The number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396.
Well, it's extremely evident, obviously, Brian, to you, it's become personal, right? And rightfully so, because now there's somebody that you actually know of, right, that has passed away from the coronavirus. But the fact of the matter is this: the horse has already been out of the barn on this, basically defying whether it be a stay-at-home, whether it be self-quarantine. It's already happened around the country. It's been happening for weeks. Obviously, we know about it in places like the state of Florida, in places like Louisiana, in places like Georgia, where there's a number of governors that had waited till the last minute or past the last minute to make decisions regarding what we should be doing as far as guidelines and restrictions. And so while I understand you're being very upset about this, basically in the last, 24 to 48 hours, this is something that Americans have been dealing with basically for the past couple of weeks, where we have been on the same page as a country, right? There have been other states that have been just doing whatever it is they feel they need to do, whether it be from a standpoint of this pandemic or a standpoint of their economic needs, that they have made decisions. And we're going to see exactly how this all transpires in the next probably 7 to 14 days, because we're going to find out what parts of the country are not, in the same place as far as the coronavirus is concerned, whether it's they're in a position where they can maybe start thinking about opening up aspects of society or not. It's a fair question, but look, I understand your passion, but there's a lot of other Americans that are in the same boat that you are right now.
There's no question. Yeah. I just think it's completely inexcusable. What do you guys think out there? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. Let's start with Mike. Mike, you're first up on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, to me, man, the only person that I've heard on your show that makes sense is JD and Mr. X. Because when you go into these rants, these diatribes about somebody's putting your life at risk because they want to praise the Lord, because they believe in something that's so important to them, it's their faith.
That has nothing to do with it.
You can praise the Lord without putting people at risk, though.
It does have something to do with it. Can I talk? Can I finish?
Well, no. Can I toss something at you? Can you not praise the Lord without putting people at risk? There's a public health risk out there.
That's your opinion. Listen.
No, it's not. It's not
I'm
his
asking
opinion.
a question. You can answer yes or no.
Interrupted. I'm a garbage man.
Okay, well, yeah.
Okay. I collect garbage for
I don't care what you do for a living. That's completely academic to this conversation.
Listen, just because you feel a certain way, and I think Mr. X hit it on the nail on Friday, doesn't mean everybody else has to feel the way you do.
Okay, so you're okay with large gatherings? Okay, so let's be clear with your opinion then.
Yes, I am.
So you're okay with hundreds of people gathering to pray? You have you don't think it creates? So you don't think? Hold on a second. So you don't think it's any? You don't think it's any health risk at all? Is that your opinion, sir?
I don't think so. No,
okay, well, then you're a moron. Then you're an idiot because every doctor disagrees with you. You're a moron. Yes, you're a moron.
I'm a moron.
Yes, you are. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Yeah,
I'm not going to.
Mike. And I don't think you're a moron necessarily.
Really?
That being said, if you do have gatherings like that with people not in their cars, praising the Lord, etc., in specific parts of the country, like in New Jersey, like in New York, like in Connecticut, like in Louisiana, where the positive testing rate is higher than 20% or 15%, there's a much higher chance of you actually spreading that virus, or someone that you're with in the gathering actually having the virus and it's spreading. Now, in a place like Idaho or Nebraska or Iowa or Kansas or even Nevada, for that matter, where the rate is lower than 10%, your chance is much smaller. So I think it really depends on where, like, for example, this was happening in Louisiana, and maybe that's the wrong place. Florida, you've got a positive test rate of under 10%, so the chance of it spreading there are lower than a different place.
So because the chance is lower, you're okay with hundreds of people in Nevada gathering?
No, I'm not saying I'm okay with it at all.
So what is your point then?
I think that the drive-up service makes sense.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I think shutting that down doesn't make any sense. Well, a lot of states were talking about shutting that down, but I don't agree that you should be gathering 50 to 100 people in an enclosed space.
And that's what I'm talking about.
With an airborne virus.
The caller was implying.
But again, that's all variable based on where in the country it's happening.
But JD, the caller was implying that in order to praise the Lord, that you need to put the public health at risk by having large gatherings of 10 people or more, which has basically been the standard, right? There are millions of people all over this country, all over the world, for that matter, that were engaging on Zoom, that were doing basically, social media type gatherings as far as being able to worship, and to practice the religion, whatever religion it is that you practice. People did it yesterday all over the world. So the notion that this guy put forth that, oh, you know what? People should be able to gather. You're denying us our freedom of religion because people aren't able to publicly gather is completely absurd.
It's
Brian.
completely
ridiculous.
Let's get back to
that's the point that he was trying to make.
Yeah, completely absurd, and that's why I call them a moron. Anybody who is okay with hundreds of people gathering anywhere in the country right now, you're basically saying that the country is okay to open up. That's basically what you're saying.
That's 100% what you're saying.
And there's a reason why the country is not open right now. So why don't you listen to the president, since you are a Trump supporter, because he's not okay with it. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Ernie. Ernie, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, good morning. A couple of things. Number one, the grandmother of your friend who passed away went to the grocery store a few times. Anybody that was at those church services probably bought groceries at a grocery store. Some member of their family did.
That's very possible.
Which means that is where if there's an infection being spread, it's going to be spread there.
That's very possible.
And I'll agree with that, Ernie.
In Greenville, Mississippi, there were 6 cars that a pastor was giving a service at on a parking lot with the windows rolled up, and 20 cop cars showed up and fined everybody there $500 apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is all going to our constitutional right, and we do have a right to worship. We have a right to gather together peacefully.
This isn't about worship and gather. Hold on.
Wait, this is in the Constitution, though.
Okay, stop for a second. Okay, Ernie, stay on the line. Hang on for a second, okay? Where in the Constitution does it say you have the right to harm others and possibly infect others? Where in the Constitution does it say to not listen and abide by the rule of law? Where in the Constitution does it say that? Please tell me, because if you want to talk about the Constitution does talk a lot about abiding by our lawmakers and abiding the law. Does the Constitution not talk about that?
Where in the Constitution does it say that some governor can override every right you have in the Constitution?
All right,
Where
well,
does it say that?
let's speak in layman's terms. You're okay, sir, with hundreds of people gathering across the country in churches. You have absolutely no problem with that, with the pandemic that's going on right now. Is that your opinion, sir?
I didn't say that. What I said.
Well, what are you saying?
There's a pastor in Vegas that wanted to have 24 people come into the congregation. They would sit more than 6 feet apart, like in all those news conferences, and they would also be on the parking lot, out in their cars with the windows rolled up, watching on a big screen TV. Now, Governor Sisolak said they wouldn't allow that. Now, you tell me why that should not be allowed, Mike.
No, okay, let me answer your question. I think that should be allowed. If you're able to adhere to social distancing guidelines, then that should be fine. But hey, caller, let's be intellectually honest here, okay? We're not talking about those situations. We're talking about people that are piling in 50 or 100 people into pews, which they were over yesterday. They were. There are places all over the country
I wasn't talking
where churches
about that.
were not doing that.
Right.
So if yes, obviously in a perfect world, okay, what you're talking about, if that takes place, then I'd have no problem with it. Okay, but the argument we're having here, by the way, it's not really about that. It's about whether or not people should be able to do it. And I got to tell you, this has nothing to do. I don't know how many times we have to say this. This has nothing to do with denying you freedom of religion or freedom to worship. This is a public health situation that is special. You can still, it's not like the government is saying, no, you can't pray. No, you can't practice your religion. That's not what we're doing here. It is a public health crisis, and people are making decisions based on that, not on trying to deny you your religion or being able to follow your religion.
All right, let's take some more phone calls, 257-5396. Let's go to Van. Van, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Good morning, gentlemen. To paraphrase, I believe it was comedian Lenny Bruce, if Christ came down and found out what was going on in his name, he'd be pissed.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Good call, Ben.
I think you'd be pissed off at a lot of things, to be completely honest with you, Van. There's a lot of people that are defying orders. People want to talk about the Constitution. I mean, it's unbelievable. Listen, if you're a logical human being, I don't care what your religion is, you say to yourself, hundreds of people should not be gathered across the country in churches during this pandemic. It's very simple. Yeah. We're not taking away your religious beliefs. We're not taking away your religion. Wait until it is safe to be out there. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to understand that. 702-257-5396. Jeannie, you are next up on the Vegas Take.
Hi.
Hey, Jeannie.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm actually a healthcare worker, and here's the thing. The only way, and I'm a strong believer, but the only way you're going to combat these people is with their own Bible, because in the Bible it's clear. Romans 13 says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. So if that's the case, if people are saying you need to stay home and our governing authorities saying stay home, they should be staying home. The other thing is wisdom comes from God. That's wisdom. And people are not using wisdom when they're going to these churches. And I mean, I don't know if they're just, flying in the face of God by doing this.
No, I just think they're selfish. I think they're selfish, and I think they're ignorant. That to be honest with you, Jeannie, to be honest with you, that's where I think it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's, again, not from the Bible. So
right.
If they really want to really dive deep, you're supposed to be subject to our own authorities, and the governing authorities that is provided for us, and also using wisdom. And so those things tell me these people are probably not really following God. They're just trying to be either selfish or trying to make a point, or,
right.
I mean, facts are facts. And,
Yeah, you're
so
right.
I'm
Facts are facts.
For you guys on the air every day. I listen on the way here to work. But
what do you do for work, Jeannie?
I'm actually a speech therapist. But
very cool.
Swallowing, we work actually on swallowing. A lot of patients from COVID get off the trach or the vents, and then we're seeing them in the COVID unit rooms because they're very, very weak.
Yeah.
And
well, listen, I'm going to send over Donald Trump to you to maybe you could get him to be a better public speaker. Okay. Well, listen, Jeannie, we appreciate you, and you make a lot of sense with a lot of what you said, and appreciate you tuning in on the way to work. Okay, have a good day at work.
Call, Jeannie.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to William. William, you're next on the Vegas Take.
What's up, William?
Hey, I'm here. You know, it's funny, all this stuff about Trump. You know, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but the point being is I never put Obama down. Trump's Trump, whatever. I don't believe any of them. They're just
First 20 minutes of the show, we haven't talked about Donald Trump. I just made a Trump joke.
I'm saying what we're talking about is this COVID-19, okay?
Correct. And we're talking about the churches.
We've already got a solution for this, which is proven. Why isn't that on the street? I mean,
well, we've been talking about churches. We haven't been talking about solutions.
Oh, the churches, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the solution,
yeah,
though?
well, you know,
you said there's a solution out there?
No, he's talking about hydroxychloroquine at the mines.
Right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, William. Go ahead.
You can have 10 people in a congregation.
That's not what I'm. But that is not what I'm criticizing. Florida, Louisiana, Kentucky, Kansas, yep. Hundreds of people. Listen, make no mistake about it, William. If there was 10 people in a church, I wouldn't be bashing it like I am right now. I'm bashing those people in Florida, Louisiana, Kentucky, Kansas, and others that have had hundreds of people in there. They are putting – listen, if people want to be dumb and do their own thing, that's one thing. But they're affecting others. When stupid people start to affect me or could affect me, that's when I have a problem with it. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah, totally. But I see stupidity every day, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, of course, but this is a different level, isn't it? Because it could affect you. It could affect your family. It could affect me and my family. I mean, what's the next thing we're going to have here in Nevada? We're going to have these churches open, and we're going to get 50, 100, 150, 200 people in these churches. It makes absolutely no sense. No sense at all. We'll take more of your other calls on the other side of the break. I know we have a lot of people on hold, and that number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-257-5396. By the way, next segment as well, I'm going to try to get to this. I'm going to admit to a mistake that I made a couple months ago, and it has something to do with the term Chinese virus. I think I made a mistake a few months ago, and I will give you the reason why I think it is totally okay and not racist to call this the Chinese virus. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll continue this conversation. Are you okay with people gathering in the hundreds in churches across the country, defying orders and laws put in place by governors during this pandemic? Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, give us a buzz, 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the... All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro on a Monday. So glad you could join us. Get back to your phone calls here in just a bit, 257-5396. By the way, we're broadcasting. We're back live on YouTube, so check us out on our Vegas Take YouTube page. You can see our pretty mugs. I'm sitting here wearing my robe. We're losing our minds, folks. That's what it comes down to, sitting in my kitchen. But want to get back to the calls, what we've been talking about, at least in the first segment, the fact that throughout the country on Easter, particularly in places like Florida, Louisiana, and Kentucky, they were gathering in the hundreds in some of these churches. It defies logic, and it defies everything that the experts are telling us not to do. That is, we need to practice social distancing. All it takes is one person in that church that can spread the virus, and then it multiplies, and then it goes on from there. Keep in mind, this started with one infected person in this country. How about all the good people in Nevada? How about all the good people throughout the country that are abiding by the laws and are practicing social distancing? To me, that is a huge reason why these numbers keep going down, because people are abiding and they're doing what they were told to do. So we're taking your phone calls on this at 702-257-5396. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, 257-5396. Are you totally okay with these people gathering in churches in the hundreds? You see no problem? That's not a health hazard to you? Or do you agree with me and pretty much everybody on the show that, no, it's inappropriate and it's beyond irresponsible and it just shouldn't happen?
Well, again, it really depends on where in the country you are at as far as the chances of the virus spreading. And I don't think that this started with one person in the United States. I think that this virus has been here for quite some time. There's a recent study that came out of California, a couple of herd immunity studies out there, antibody tests basically that are indicating this virus has been spreading on the West Coast since December. I don't think that there was one particular person that spread this virus to a lot of different people. I think that over the course of the last 3 or 4 months, this virus has been here in various parts of the country. And there's probably a second strain of the virus that has recently hit New York and the East Coast in general in the last couple of months.
All right. Well, we're taking your calls on how do you feel about these churches in Easter Sunday and hundreds of people gathering in several states across the country. And again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 257-5396. Let's start off with Chris. Chris, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Chris?
Hey guys, great show. Just real quick, I think the government should deem Sharp and Shapiro essential listening. And I'll tell
We
you
appreciate
why.
that.
You guys have shown a lot of people out there that you can have disagreements politically and still be buddies, still be friends. A lot of people.
Well, JD hates me. That's not true.
They literally won't talk to the other, a friend, or it could even be a family member. So you guys are showing people that you can still, be cool.
Chris, can I, Chris, I appreciate. Hang on the line, Chris. I appreciate you saying that. Let me just say this: there are people that do not talk to me because I disagree with their political beliefs. Now, it's not because of me. I'm happy to. I could give you a couple radio show hosts in this town that don't want to talk to me. I can give you people that I have considered friends. I can give you a golfing buddy. I mean, there are people that they just take it way too far. And I appreciate those kind words because I think if we're all going to disagree, but we're all not going to agree on everything. But some people take it a little bit.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. Also, the people that won't talk to Brian, because Brian is very good at explaining himself and he's good at debating. Those type of people who won't talk to Brian are incapable of holding up their end of the bargain in a debate. Whereas with me, we come at each other with in his case, it's a little more emotional than my case. It's more fact driven, but we come at each other with a lot of different.
That's debatable.
No, I would say it's pretty. I would say that's pretty true.
No, that's
but
debatable.
but we definitely come at each other with both sides.
We're going to argue over this too, but I resent the fact that you say you're more factual than me. I respectfully disagree with that. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Steve. By the way, Chris, thank you for the call. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Good morning, guys. I did observe a church service, and what I did was go to a church that was closed, sit on the nice stone bench outside, say a nice prayer, and leave. So
sure.
I'm safe.
Steve, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all, and I commend you for doing that.
Thank you. I agree it should be safe. And could I say this, please, about these preachers? This is a hot issue for me. These rip-off scums that rip people off for millions.
Absolutely.
Copeland got interviewed about why is he flying around with a Gulfstream jet, and he had the most evil, dirty look, and he attacked the reporter who asked him politely why, if he believed in God and religion, why is he flying around the world in a Gulfstream jet? There's an old saying, guys, I'll leave you with this. The two most profitable business in the world. No, it's not banking, insurance, or medical. You know what it is? Prostitution or religion. You know why?
Yeah.
In prostitution, you own it, you sell it, and you still own it. In religion, you have to pay somebody else for the privilege of telling you how to think. So how's that?
Steve, you are so right. Can I ask you a question, Steve, before we let you go, if that's okay?
Sure.
What would you say to your fellow churchgoers or fellow Christians that are not doing what you were doing? You did the very responsible thing of sitting down in front of a church outside and praying, and like I said, I commend you for that. So what would you say to those others out there, I would like to call them buffoons, who go into these churches with hundreds of people that are not obeying the law? What would you say to them?
Two things. Religion is what you do every day of your life, not just on Sunday or whatever. And the other thing is this. God is not going to send me to hell because I went to his place to worship, said a nice prayer for my friends and family, and honored that day. He doesn't care whether you walk inside, outside. Religion is 90% hypocrisy. Religion is what you do in kind acts every day of your life when no one else is looking. How's that?
You make a lot of you make a lot of sense, my friend. You sound like a really smart guy, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate you. He's so right. Religion is what you make it out to be. It shouldn't be what someone else tells you to do. Oh, God is going to punish you if you don't walk into this church. This man stood outside a church. He took a seat. He prayed to God. He did what made him comfortable. Good for him. And you know what? Here's the key, guys. In the process of him doing that, he didn't put anybody's lives at risk. That's what I'm talking about here. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Tom. Tom, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Tom?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
I have to agree with that last caller as well, too. I just look back about, it's been 30, 35 years now, and I remember with my grandparents, my grandfather used to sit Sundays for about an hour, 2 hours a day reading the Bible. And I've never been to, I know I'm not one for church, a religion. That's my opinion. But my grandmother would go every Sunday. And I asked my grandfather one time, well, how come you never go? He said, well, to me, I don't need to have someone else tell me what to believe, how to believe, or pay someone to tell me the same thing the last caller said, to pay someone to tell me how to think.
Exactly.
So I agree with you 100% on the churches should be shut down. I'm still working. Thankfully, I'm still working. But I work construction, so which is deemed essential now, some
Right.
aspects of it. But I see tons and tons of people out and about all day long.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Doing things that then you want to complain an hour, 2 hours, 2 days, 3 days later that it's not nothing's opening. Well, people, come on, you're in groups everywhere, and you want to go to church because it's a holiday, a religious holiday.
Yeah.
You can practice the same religious holiday at home,
Sure,
and not worry about other people.
So let me ask you this, and you make a lot of great points there. Let me ask you, do you think I think it's maybe a mixture of the three of these things. Do you think it's ignorance, selfishness, or they're just trying to make a point? I mean, I think it's all three.
I think it's all three, exactly. And for most of the time, it's to make a point. With most people you see on the news and things, it's to get their 15 seconds of fame, or, oh, look what we did when this was all happening. We stood up for what we thought was right. Well, it doesn't matter because you infected thousands of people with what you thought was right. You have to look out according to your teachings and religions. If you're supposed to look
Right.
out for your fellow man, but you're
Right.
not. You're because you're a pastor. It's almost similar to what you talked about last week, or maybe the week before, about that Reverend Wild, or whatever that was, anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's just the worst.
Pastor Rick Wiles.
Yeah.
He stated it right off. That Jewish people should get it because of their defiance in Jesus and blah blah blah. Well, in a sense, and I'm not saying this as a mean or derogatory thing, but the Christian, which is the Easter religion, the Christian religion, they're not saying it, but it's almost like the same concept. Is like, well, we're going to go out and celebrate our God, and that yet the other people that aren't going, or that don't believe in a God or gods or whatever,
Sure.
they have to take the brunt of it, saying, well, all you people are going, so you might.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. I want to ask you one more question, too, because I like some of the things you're saying. Let me ask you this. I'm comparing this to a drunk driver in this aspect. It's involuntary manslaughter. When you get into your car, it's a choice when you're drunk, right? And if you could hurt or kill somebody, even though that's not your intention to do so, you're being selfish, right? You're playing Russian roulette with society, for lack of a better term. I feel like these churchgoers are doing the exact same thing, right?
And they are, and I can totally relate to that, because my best friend was killed almost 8 years ago by a drunk driver that was only
I'm so
20.
sorry. Oh, boy.
He was only 20 years old, and it was his third DUI. I mean, how do you have a DUI when you're 20 and then the third time? So,
yeah.
in my sense, when he does get out of prison, because he is in prison, I told him, I'll be here to pick you up. I'll be your, well, this was before that happened, but I'll be your Uber ride home. Because you won't, that's my feeling. So you chose to get into that car drunk. Right. So you're playing Russian roulette. You chose to go to church with 50, 100, 200, 10, 20. It doesn't matter the amount.
Well, do me a favor. Do me a favor, my friend, because you know we're trying to do what we can to knock some sense into some people. You're a smart guy. I want you to do the same. You're a smart guy, and if you hear of people that are gathering in large groups, could be religious, beliefs, or could be church, could be anything, you tell them. You tell them what they're doing, because I still don't think a lot of these people understand what they're doing is so reckless in their behavior. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Grace next on the Vegas Take. Grace, what's going on?
Hey, Grace.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I just like to comment on these people you said that's congregating in hundreds. I just hope that, somebody else would be monitoring them and see how many of those hundreds of people have acquired COVID-19.
Well, we have no way of knowing.
Example. Yeah, I know. So I bet you, they're adding to the statistics. Now, let me tell you something. I'm a nurse, and I have this patient who goes to church every single day. And I said, well, every single day, and I mean every Sunday. And I said, why do you have to do that? You can pray anywhere in your home, in the bathroom, in the toilet, which I do. God doesn't say that, you have to be going to church every Sunday to be free of sins. But if they're doing this, infecting other people, isn't that what God does not want them to do?
Of course.
And not only that, he donates every single month to his church, knowing he's receiving welfare, Medicaid, food stamp, all these things, and yet he can donate to his church.
Grace, can I ask you a question? And very well said, Grace. Are you Christian, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm Catholic, yes. But
What would you say to your fellow? What would you say to some of your fellow Catholics, I guess, if for lack of a better term, who are not abiding by the rules? What would you say to them?
I'll tell them that they're stupid and they're bringing home the virus to their family and to all the people in Las Vegas.
Well said.
They're
Yeah,
stupid
no,
and
well said.
ignorant.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, and I'm so glad that there are people like you out there that are speaking the truth, Grace, and God bless you. I will say that for saying the right thing. Yes, I don't think God would mind calling people stupid for putting others in harm's way health-wise. 702-257-5396 is the number to call.
And Brian, quickly to her point about whether or not we can monitor people that are going to these large gatherings, there is the basic general standard here in the country as far as, if you are and you end up engaging in that type of activity, you're supposed to quarantine yourself for 14 days. Okay, that's basically it's kind of a good faith thing that we're doing. It's not a hard line deal here in the United States, but that's kind of what we're supposed to be adhering to.
Chris, how does I've been thinking about this for a while, but how does going to the grocery store work when you're quarantined for 14 days? Do you have someone do that for you?
No, because in a situation like the grocery store, we're supposed to be social distancing, right? Now I understand, right? When we do go to the grocery store, there are a lot of times where
we have
those
to go to the
standards
grocery
aren't
store.
being held. Yeah. But
we have no choice.
But the rationale, JD and Brian and Stein and Campaign, is that when you go to the grocery store, you're supposed to be adhering to social distancing. Therefore, you're not subjected or you're not expected to you have the 14-day quarantine.
And I asked that because a recent study came out that a bunch of nurses who were on the floor of an ICU, about half of them had the virus on the bottom of their shoes.
Right.
So if that's the case in an ICU where there's 3 to 5 people per ICU area roughly, whereas you're at a store where like when this started, you went to Costco, there was lines 1,100 people long.
No question.
I mean, you have 10 to 15.
What's scary.
You have 10 to
JD.
15,000 coming in and out of these places.
Well, JD, that's what's scary.
every single day.
Here's what I don't
How
understand.
many people are bringing this virus home on the bottom of their shoes and not even realizing?
Well, again, we're talking about the question between essential and non-essential businesses, right? That's why. I mean, look. I mean, in a perfect world, right? If you want to just stamp out this virus, it would be shut everything down, right?
Yeah.
Close everything down. Obviously,
Explain this to me, guys.
That's a determination that's been made where we're like essential, non-essential.
I want to get to more calls at 257-5396. We got more people on hold, but why is it that there are some supermarkets that are not allowing a certain number of people into their store, and they're actually doing something about that, and then there are other supermarkets that are not doing any of that?
It's called money, Brian.
Well, it's inconsistency.
That's called money. That's what that is.
Well, it's a joke.
But now that
it's a good question.
But now that Smithfield Foods, which is one of the biggest, actually it's the biggest pork processing plant in the country in South Dakota, was just shut down because 237 of the 3,700 employees came down with the virus. By the way, this is owned by China. They bought it in 2015.
Sorry, that was a horrible joke.
I mean, imagine how many Walmarts and different stores all over the country were getting this food from this major pork processing plant.
No, that's a good point.
So that's going to change things as well.
Point. I heard the biggest pork processing was Satriali's from The Sopranos, but I guess they shut that thing down a long time ago. But no, that's a good point. Let's get to some more phone calls. 702-257-5396. Jim, you're next. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Jim?
Yeah. Good morning. Good conversation. I want to pick up on that thing about the COVID virus on the bottom of the shoes. On your website this morning, there's a big article that the virus can actually spread for a little bit more than 13 feet.
Yep.
So you start thinking about that in terms of how Vegas makes its money, which is out of casinos. Now, before we had the shutdown, I go to a couple of the local casinos here in Henderson, and what they were doing is they would have, they're like 3 machines in a bank, and they shut it down so that only one player could play in each bank.
Right.
But when it reopens again, you're not going to be able to do that. You look at the stadium that's going up, the hockey rinks. This isn't going to work. I mean, until we get testing of everybody, and you're guaranteed that you're going to be going safe, these businesses are not going to be viable anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. You're right.
I really would like to see. I would really like to see you guys direct your conversation away from how many angels can dance on the head of the pins religion to the practical economics of what's going on here. I'd like to see you do some remotes. I'd like to see you do some remotes at some of these places where they're doing food giveaways. I'd like you to do some interviews with people who have relatives in prisons in the local jails and find out how they're doing. This is an opportunity for you guys to really do your job, do some serious journalism.
Can I ask
All right,
you a
yeah,
question?
just a heads up. They're not going to let. There's nobody. I don't care. Media outlet you watch or listen to, nobody's doing remotes right now at any places where there's gathering, where
Jim,
there's people that are doing. Yeah,
Jim,
it just doesn't happen.
Jim, there's a lot.
I appreciate the sentiment.
Jim, there's a lot you just said. Let me just correct you. First of all, we're not journalists. We're opinionated talk show hosts. There's a fine line between a journalist and an opinionated talk show host. That's number one. Number two, we have provided services for people. Besides for the fact that anybody can call in and plug their local business, we've done a lot more than that. We've had local hold on, let me just finish. We've had local nurses. We've had a lot of local doctors, local nurses call into this show, tell us front lines how they're feeling. We've had local people with the virus that have suffered through the virus, that have gone through the virus, and have told us where they are right now and how it went through. We've talked to them. We've had politicians, people in Nevada, both Republicans and Democrats.
You sound like a 13-year-old.
No. Excuse me, sir. You're the one who said. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. If I could just finish, I was just interrupted.
The call started well, and then he decided to do a job.
You are the one that said, "I'd like to see you do more of this, this, and this." Please find me another show in the state of Nevada that is doing what we're doing. Go ahead, go. Yeah, exactly. Silence. Yeah, coward. Have a nice day. I just named you just some of the things that we've done on this show in the last month. And by the way, we've done it while making people laugh. We've had comedians on this show. We had world's best Donald Trump impersonator on yesterday. We had last week. We had Jackie the Joke Man on last week. So besides having the nurses and doctors on the front lines, besides having the locals with the coronavirus who've had it, who've been through it coming on this show, besides having the politicians on the right and the left coming on this show, no, we're not going to do a remote. We're not going to be around people. Guess what? Because it's not allowed because there's something called social distancing, you fool.
I did.
And we've done this from Brian's questionable one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, so JD, but I didn't sense that much vitriol coming from the caller, JD. But Brian,
it came out late. The call started very well, and then he started drifting into a whole different conversation where he decided to tell us exactly.
I'll tell you what, we could just talk about the Bible for 2 or 3 hours a day and take 5 calls. I mean, I guess we could do that, but no, I don't want to do that. We do a show that's different than anybody else. That's what we do on this show, and that is why we are the highest-rated talk show, not just in our time slot, but in any time slot in the city of Las Vegas. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Michelle?
Hello, Brian. Hello, JD. Brian, sorry to hear about your college friend's mother, and so now you know someone who has died from the virus. So
sadly.
Sorry.
Yeah,
yes.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Just real quick, the Bible does discuss an event that would happen worldwide that will usher in what's known as the New World Order, which is the system of the Antichrist. The Bible talks about a one world government that would take over because of an event that would be like control over the people worldwide. It would lead to a cashless society, which would require mandatory chipping of
people
for financial transactions worldwide.
Okay, so Michelle, let me jump in here.
World religion also.
Okay, no, I hear you, Michelle. Let me jump in here because we do have some time constraints, and I want to ask you a very, very important question, Michelle.
Okay.
Are you okay throughout the country? Hundreds of people. I know you're a religious lady, and I have nothing, as I've said before, I got no problem with that. Are you okay with
religious.
hundreds?
I'm not religious. I'm the antithesis of religion.
Sure. Okay, no problem. We're speaking, we're getting in the weeds here. Are you okay with hundreds of people gathering in churches throughout the country today?
No, sir, I'm not okay with it. I heard your caller, Jeannie, mention Romans chapter 13 in the Bible, and it talks about submitting to the authorities and the governing, the authorities of the land. So
right.
I think the true church is in the heart of the people that have received the Spirit of the living God in their life and in their hearts. And the faith that we have in our heart, the prayer time that we have in our own personal heart, and also reading the Bible in our own homes, That's the true church. The true church is not.
Michelle, do me a favor.
Really, really well said, Michelle. Thank you for that.
Michelle, can you do me a favor? Can you tell others that are, like yourself? And by the way, I appreciate the call. Tell others what you just told our listeners and you told us. You can do the same thing from your home. I think you said it best, Michelle. And quite frankly, I'm
But
proud
Brian,
of her.
let's be honest, Brian. She said a lot of other stuff too.
Well, I'm not going to go into that other stuff.
Kind of wild.
I'm not
going to
go into that.
New World Order
I'm not
and one
gonna,
religion
I'm not
across
going to go
the
there.
world.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. Well,
all right, so I'm not going to go there. So the next guy we have with us on the line, we did ban him from the show. But I'm always, unlike others, I'm willing to give people a second chance. Since it is Holy Week, I'm willing to give people a second chance.
Actually, it's Monday after Holy Week, but that's
okay. All right. Well, okay, whatever. But I'm willing to give Ron the Patriot.
Details.
Ron, if we could have a very respectful conversation, I am more than willing to put you back on the air. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me, buddy. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So go ahead.
I've got some information about the pork situation with the Smithfield Company. All right. Chinese had a bad swine flu epidemic about 4 years ago, killed millions and millions of pigs over in China. Okay? So what they did was they bought out the Smithfield Company. They now own it. The Chinese own Smithfield. I stopped buying their hams about a year and a half ago. I found the information out about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But the epidemic was 4 years ago, where millions and millions of pigs got killed.
Oh, wow.
No, I'll tell you, Ron's actually onto something here, which is pretty unusual for him. But this is a really big deal. If this place is shut down, it was supposed to be shut down for 72 hours. Again, this is this is the largest pork processing plant on the planet, in the world. But if this is shut down, and it's shut down indefinitely at this point, this could have an effect on our food supply chain, which could be a really, really big issue. And I understand 10% of a little less than 10% of your workforce while it is a lot. That being said, it isn't exactly. I would imagine it's not exactly difficult to work in a place like that. Yeah. So if this stays shut down for an extended period of time and affects our food supply chain, it could be a really, really big deal. So I get where Ron's coming from. The question is, should something this big be shut down entirely when it affects so many lives and so many businesses in so many different ways? And I'm not sure what the answer is to that.
Ron, let me just say this, my friend. You always have a home here at the Vegas Take. Call back anytime. That was a very good phone call.
That was a very good, absolutely a great phone call by Ron. Thank you.
We got to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to admit to a mistake I made. I know Brian's not perfect. I made a mistake a few months ago. And it has something to do with calling this virus the Chinese virus. I thought it was wrong, even maybe as far as racist. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you right now why I don't think it's wrong. And while I'll take the president's side on this one, I'll explain to you my reasons for that coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.